Okay, let's dive right into today's explainer. We're going to take a fast-paced look at one of the absolute most massive, rapid cultural shifts in all of human history: how Islam became a global power. We're talking about a transformation that literally redrew the map of the world in a matter of decades. Understanding exactly how that happened is just endlessly fascinating. So let's get into it.
Right off the bat, I want you to imagine the deserts of Arabia in the early 7th century. We really have to start at the micro level to fully appreciate the macro results we'll see later. Back then, this region was incredibly fragmented. You had small tribes, constant internal conflict, and absolutely no unified central power whatsoever. Frankly, if you were placing bets back then, it was the absolute last place you'd ever expect a global superpower to originate.
Section 1. The Arabian Epicenter.
So picture the year 610 AD. This is when the message of Islam first began with Prophet Muhammad in Mecca. Now, in those early days, his followers were few, and they faced intense, really fierce opposition. But the major turning point, the real catalyst, came in 622 AD with what's known as the Hijra. This was the migration to Medina. It's a huge deal because it marked the shift from a small, persecuted group into an actual functioning society. And from there, it caught on incredibly fast. By 632 AD, almost all of Arabia was united under one single banner.
Section 2. Conquering the Weakened Empires.
So, after uniting Arabia, things moved quickly. Within just a few short decades, Muslim armies pushed aggressively beyond their borders. We're talking moving into Syria and Palestine, securing Egypt right around 640 AD, and driving way eastward into Iran. Now, you might be wondering, how did they succeed so incredibly fast against the established powers? Well, the two massive superpowers of the day, the Byzantine and Persian empires, actually, scratch that, they were former superpowers at this point. They had completely exhausted each other through decades of endless, grueling wars. They basically left the front door wide open.
And that expansion wave, it didn't stop. It surged west, sweeping straight across North Africa. Then, a massive milestone hit. In 711 AD, Muslim forces actually crossed the strait right into Europe, establishing Al-Andalus in Spain. And we have to be clear here, this wasn't just about grabbing territory for the sake of it. Under Islamic rules, cities like Cordoba completely transformed. They became some of the most brilliant, advanced centers of science, architecture, and learning anywhere in the world at that time. It was a real game changer.
Section 3. Expansion through global trade. Now here's where the story takes a really fascinating turn. In places like the Middle East and Spain, that early expansion was definitely driven heavily by military victories and building statehood. But as Islam started moving further south and east, into West Africa and Asia, the primary engine of growth completely shifted. It wasn't about armies anymore. It was driven deeply by trade routes, peaceful influence, and heavy cultural exchange. Let's look at how far this peaceful network reached. Islam actually arrived peacefully in Ethiopia way early on, in 615 AD. Over in West Africa, it literally rode the Saharan trade routes down to massive empires like Mali, which was ruled by incredibly wealthy figures like Mansa Musa. On the east coast of Africa, Muslim traders blended seamlessly with local populations to forge a brand new, vibrant Swahili culture. And all across South, Central, and Southeast Asia, local rulers and communities adopted the religion largely through peaceful maritime trade and teaching. It became the dominant religion without a single battle in those areas. Section 4. Secrets to Global Success.
So, having seen all of this, it really all boils down to one big, glaring question, doesn't it? Why was it so successful? Seriously, how do you go from a completely fragmented desert to a multi-continental civilization that fast? Think about those vastly different methods we just covered for a second.
Well, the answer is that there wasn't just one single magic bullet. It was a combination. Number one, they had incredibly unified leadership and built strong early states right out of the gate in Medina. Number two, they capitalized on rapid, opportunistic military expansion into regions where the old empires were crumbling. And third, they leaned heavily into expansion through trade, culture, and education. All of these different methods worked seamlessly together to weave totally disconnected parts of the world into one massive, vibrant network.
When you zoom out, the journey from a tiny micro-community in Arabia to a sprawling civilization stretching across Africa, Europe, and Asia is just wow. The sheer scale of what was achieved over those centuries is genuinely staggering. By bridging these enormous continents together, Islam cemented itself as one of the most profoundly influential forces in all of world history.
Ultimately, what I want you to take away from this explainer is that this story is not just about conquest. It's really a story about connection, about culture, and about the unstoppable movement of ideas across continents. It is a powerful reminder of exactly how human networks thrive and grow. So as you go about your day today, maybe take a second to ask yourself, how are the ideas, the trade, and the cultures that we interact with every single day traveling, blending, and connecting us across the globe right now? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep asking those big questions.
يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير